With sprawling supercenters and close to 12,000 stores worldwide, Walmart may be best known for low prices that local stores can't match. Now, the planet's #1 company by revenue wants to be known as a leader in the fight against climate change.
Sustainability is really core to our mission.
Kathleen Mclaughlin is Walmart's Chief Sustainability Officer. She's charged with selling Walmart's climate vision to shareholders.
It's critical for business, it's important for customers and for communities. We're seeing effects already in things like supply security of different food commodities.
Walmart's response to climate change began more than a decade ago. In 2005, then CEO Lee Scott pledged to curb Walmart's emissions of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, which cause the atmosphere to trap heat and warm the earth. Scott started moving the company toward clean power sources like wind and solar, with a goal of eventually getting 100% of its energy from renewables.
It was a realization about capability and about scale and how we can use that for good. Walmart has unique assets as a retailer, just given the reach that we have across categories, the reach we have across countries and across suppliers, and the recognition that we could bring those capabilities to bear on the most pressing social and environmental issues that our customers face in ways that are really relevant for business.
Walmart, headquartered in Bentonville, Arkansas, began by improving the fuel efficiency of its vast fleet of trucks that deliver goods to its stores.
So Mike, when you're ready, we'll crank it up.
Using a simulator, Walmart retrains its truck drivers on gear shifting to increase their fuel savings. Operators can have up to a 30% impact on fuel efficiency based on how they drive, and their job performance is judged accordingly. The company says improved driving and upgraded trucks have saved the retailer nearly $1 billion since 2005.
Walmart has been the driver of a lot of new technologies in the energy efficiency space.
Mark Vanderhelm is Walmart's Vice President of Energy. Walmart has saved energy and money in its store operations by demanding more efficient equipment from vendors that provide its lighting, refrigeration, and heating and cooling systems. In its push for more renewable energy, the company has installed solar panels on the rooftops of 364 Walmart and Sam's Clubs. That's only about 8% of all its stores in the U.S., but the panels make Walmart the nation's second biggest commercial generator of solar power.
The biggest challenge in the U.S. is making it economic. We would love to see more availability of renewable energy sources that is at price parity with other sources.
In other words, Walmart's ambitious energy goals aim also to save money. So in its home base in Arkansas, where a lack of state government incentives for renewables make conventional fossil fuel power cheaper, you won't see any solar panels on the local Walmart stores. While the company has pledged to be 100% powered by renewables, it hasn't said when. And right now, only 17% of Walmart's domestic power comes from renewable sources. To provide guidance in achieving its climate change goals, Walmart has partnered with the Environmental Defense Fund, or EDF. Fred Krupp is the group's president. Is Walmart doing enough?
The scale of Walmart is hard to wrap your head around. They have 220 million people shopping there every week. In the United States, they sell about a third of all the food that we buy at retail stores. They can always do more. But what they have shown so far is a serious commitment, and the journey is an ongoing journey of improvement.
Jenny Allen is an EDF supply chain specialist based in Bentonville, Arkansas.
The things that we buy and consume and how they are made and used and disposed of have a huge impact on the planet. So grocery is contributing nearly half of all greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. retail sector. And that's due to both the volume of food being sold, but also the high level of greenhouse gas impacts embedded in that food.
And Walmart is the largest grocer
they are
in the world. So this is a hot spot. Walmart's mission has grown to not only reduce its own stores' impact on climate change, but to compel its tens of thousands of suppliers to transform their practices. At Walmart's urging, EDF helped pork producer Smithfield to optimize fertilizer use on crops used to feed its pigs, reducing the amount of the greenhouse gas nitrous oxide released into the atmosphere. The reductions by Smithfield and other suppliers contributed to Walmart taking credit for meeting a goal in 2015 of reducing emissions by 20 million metric tons, the equivalent of taking nearly 4 million cars off the road for a year. Walmart's newest initiative is called Project Gigaton, which aims to persuade suppliers to remove 50 times more greenhouse gases, or 1 billion metric tons by 2030, about the same amount of pollution as Germany emits in a year. Walmart, known for squeezing suppliers to keep prices low, is putting a green squeeze on them now, though one that's voluntary.
It sends a message to their 100,000 suppliers all around the world: if you want your products on our shelves, cut your pollution.
90% of Walmart's overall greenhouse gas impact comes from its supply chain, and dozens of its major suppliers have already signed on to Project Gigaton. Walmart hopes encouraging its suppliers to cut emissions will have a multiplier effect. One of those participating suppliers was already forging its own path to sustainability. The candy maker Mars Inc., best known for M&Ms and Snickers bars, has set an aggressive target of using zero carbon in its operations by 2040, eliminating all greenhouse gas emissions.
Phil's actually 18 acres, so it's pretty big.
Barry Parkin, Mars Chief Sustainability Officer, showed us the vast solar farm in New Jersey the company built 8 years ago. It now provides about 5% of the power used by the Mars chocolate factory in nearby Hackettstown, which churns out half of the M&Ms sold in the U.S. Parkin says the falling price of renewable energy technology like solar makes the investments pay off.
We've done this at cost parity or better. In some cases, our costs are now lower as a result of using renewable energy.
So we're not going to see the price of M&Ms skyrocketing because Mars has made commitments to the environment?
No, absolutely not. So this is not, good for the environment. It's good for Mars, it's good for consumers, and it's also good for the landowners that we're working with.
Mars has a long-term contract to buy the power produced by this massive wind farm in West Texas, enough to offset the electricity used in its entire U.S. operation. Parkin believes that global efforts to curb climate change will eventually lead to fossil fuels becoming more expensive.
We believe there will at some point be a price on carbon. We're thinking long-term. We're thinking that if we are ahead of the curve here and we're reducing our carbon footprint in line with the science, faster than our competitors, then we're going to have a competitive advantage.
This month, Mars announced it is investing $1 billion over the next 3 years, in part to help its suppliers reduce carbon emissions, including hundreds of thousands of small farmers around the world. Mars hopes the effort will help the company's supply chain reduce emissions by 67% by 2050. This initiative is part of Mars' planning for disruptions to their agricultural supplies caused by climate change, including the cocoa for its chocolate.
70% of the world's cocoa comes from a small region in West Africa, and all of the climate models say that that region is going to become drier, and that is not good for cocoa. So those millions of farmers there, all the predictions say is they're going to start to struggle.
The risks of climate change to business have now led half of the world's 500 largest public companies to set sustainability goals. A report released this April by several environmental researchers found energy efficiency projects saved these companies nearly $4 billion last year. In addition, after President Trump pulled the United States government out of the Paris Climate Accords, Walmart and Mars were among the companies that signed a letter pledging to continue to meet their voluntary targets. But Walmart's growing business may be in conflict with its sustainability mission. Walmart's total retail square footage has expanded by 43% in the past decade, and along with it, its self-reported carbon emissions went up 9%, even as the pace of its emissions slowed. Walmart, it is still building new stores. It is still increasing its carbon footprint. How do you answer the broader question of whether Walmart can ever be truly earth-friendly?
We're expanding our footprint, but we believe that our model, so the way we manage our own store operations, the way we work with suppliers, actually optimizes and lowers the footprint to deliver the same amount of product to people. So if you look at the scale and ambition of our efforts and what we've actually achieved, I'm actually quite excited about it.
By 2025, Walmart says it plans to reduce its carbon emissions by 18% from its 2015 levels. As ever, the company that has transformed communities and consumers is striking a path and expecting others to follow.